let's make this short. I try my best to describe what my anti-RWBY main crew or the RWBY crew been through, or describe what they've been through that made them into the monsters they are in my AU. But keep in mind, it's gonna be complicated, so I'll try to shorten it and paint a big picture too. I won't be as descriptive. Let's start with Yang, or aka Ironwood's super soldier puppet. So, all this starts is with Yang first. After the fall of the school and the death of Penny, Mark 1, and the disappearance of her dear sister Ruby, Yang fell into a deep depression. She felt sort of responsible, or maybe felt like it's her fault Ruby disappeared without a trace. All I know is Ruby's been gone ever since. And Yang, with her missing arm, she felt like she failed to protect her friends as well. A lot of this was sort of psychological issue. Besides the arm, she couldn't bear to look at Ruby's room anymore and feared that she might be dead, but she tells herself no. Anyways, after a year or so, after a while, Ironwood, or as you guys should know, is also the bad guy in my AU, or a publical bad guy, a tyrant, like a government tyrant. Anyways, after talking with Yang's parents, he managed to convince Yang's parents and her to join his elite forces, with little detail of what he had planned for her. Ironwood knew how strong Yang was in combat and abilities, and wanted to use that as his new project, after Penny had unfortunately been out of order. Hint to the fact that he disregarded Penny. One of the projects that was supposed to be saving people as nothing but a failure, and decided to make Yang something he had intended for a while. After a while, Yang agreed and joined. Other stopping by guys here and there, gained a new arm and some wildly suspicious technology. She started to feel like her old self, but still felt sad that Ruby was still missing in order to be found. But then, one day, an order came in that soon started everything. Soon, people started protesting the methods of Ironwood's leadership, and that's when he called Yang in for an elimination mission. But what she soon realizes, her targets were the civilian protesters outside Ironwood's penthouse or building. Without a doubt, she was fused in an instant, and after an argument, Yang threw the arm at him and stormed out the door, planning to leave tomorrow. But that was not Ironwood's main plan for her. Next you know, she wakes up strapped down to a table, fully awake, and a bunch of weird technology was around her. She looked up and saw Ironwood watching from the window inside, as she started cussing the hell out of Ironwood to let her go. Ironwood replied, "Sorry, Yang, but you are too valuable to just let you walk out of here. Begin this procedure," he said. After that, a bunch of scientists and doctors came running into the room with surgical equipment and other stuff. And without hesitation, they started operating on her, removing parts of her and replacing them with cybernetically enhanced parts. Soon she just watched in horror as she was being changed into a soldier, a weapon, something against her will. And soon when they finished, she was powerful than her normal self. She was able to do things she couldn't do because of her limits. But what topped it off is when he said activate the helmet. They had a helmet that turned on right next to Yang's head, and they soon placed it and surgically attached it to her head. Soon she she became his puppet, and she had no control of her body. Ironwood said start the test, and they placed her in a room with someone who was been resisting his authority or was a threat to Ironwood's leadership. And he ordered Yang to break his legs and arms. Next I know, Yang watched as her body started moving on her own, and she couldn't speak at all. She watched her bolt towards the man, grabbing him by the neck, and saw as she watched her right arm bash the shit out of his legs and start breaking his other bones. Soon Ironwood ordered her to eradicate him. Next you know, she watched as she murdered the shit out of him, and she couldn't stop herself. She watched as an innocent man was slaughtered in front of her by her own hands. She was horrified, at the same time couldn't say a thing. Next you know, he made her in charge of his army, and soon Yang became the monster everyone fears, the soldier who follows every order. To top it all off, she was helpless. She watched every horrible thing she's been ordered to do by Ironwood, but couldn't do anything to stop him. Which involved killing, brutally, or other unspeakable things. She seen it all and was powerless to do a thing about it. One of the missions she watched as a child was killed by her hands. This child had nothing to do, only the father, who was supplying a resistance with weapons. Soon Ironwood was taking control of a whole continent, and Yang was leading the charge. As Yang suffered, traumatizing, and watching as her life was over, she was no longer in control of her own actions. And worst of all of it, whenever she managed to get somewhat control, Ironwood would initiate this controlled shock that would soon submit her back into his control. She was powerless to the nightmare or the monster she's become. And that is Yang's bio. Hopefully you guys could understand most of that. I barely could, but I'm very tired right now, so I hope you enjoyed the video, and like and subscribe.